in Division 4, I would like to extend a warm welcome to you all and a special thank you to our panelists today. Since we're short on time to begin this webinar today, we're pleased to have moderator Connor Duckworth from HTNL. So Connor, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and start.
All right, thank you, Caesar. For those of you, I did believe, I think some people did message me that some videos may be on. So please, if you can, if your video is on, turn it off, as well as I believe all of you have your microphones muted, but just in case, please turn those off as well. So welcome everyone to the CMRTA Division 4 Roundtable on how agencies are coping with licensing and revenue during COVID-19. My name is Connor Duckworth from HDL Companies, and I'll be moderating today's webinar. Before we start, I would like to thank the California Municipal Revenue and Tax Association for hosting today's webinar, the first of the series of several over the next month. For those of you that don't know, CMRTA was founded in 1969 when business tax professionals recognized the value of regular networking to improve their knowledge, skills, and performance. CMRTA now includes over 300 California local government revenue agencies. Through quarterly meetings, the CMRTA continues to provide its members with current tax and revenue education, compliance, enforcement, collection, training, certification, and representation in relevant legislative efforts. CMRTA creates partnerships with other agencies with mutual interests and promotes the highest levels of professional services and ethics to the public. If you are not a member of the CMRTA but would like more information, please contact CMRTA Division 4 at gmail.com and we can direct you to the proper channels on how to get in touch. California and the whole world have seen a drastic shift in our daily life with the COVID-19 pandemic. Many of you are even sitting at home, attending this webinar, and completing your duties from the safety of your home instead of going into City Hall. Technology has made coping with this a little easier, but life as we know it will be changed forever. Our local businesses shut their doors, some to never reopen again. Unemployment has skyrocketed and revenues are down substantially. Municipal budgets have been completely rehashed as many agencies don't have enough reserves to get them out of their deficits. We have a panel of experts here and some innovators who can assist us with how we can all try to overcome this obstacle and learn from each other. This webinar will be recorded and available through the CMRTA website. As mentioned, you will be muted throughout the presentation and we'll be taking questions at the end of the presentations for our panelists. If you'd like to submit a question, please go to the chat box. You might see a chat box at the top of your screen. It'll say chat. You can go ahead and submit your question on there and we will answer it at the very end. If you have any other questions, please submit them in the chat box as well too, and we will get started. All right, so I'd like to introduce some of our panelists today. We're really thrilled to be joined by an all-female panel from across the state who will be covering a number of topics as well as answering your questions at the end. From the city of Concord, we have Deborah Oslin, Natasha Wolford, the city of Riverside, Rosa Rosales, city of San Diego, Shelley Miller, city of Vacaville, Kelly Williams, city of Whittier, and I'm moderating from HDL Companies. All right, let me admit our last few people in here real quick. Okay, perfect. We have a filled room today. So our first question, how has COVID-19 impacted your city or county, and what is the impact on your business community? Rosa. Rosa, are you there? Can you unmute?
Me too. Okay. Hello.
All right,
can you
Rosa.
guys?
Now
Can
we hear
everybody
you.
hear me?
Yep.
Hi, good morning. This is Rosa Rosales with the City of San Diego. And first of all, I want to thank everybody for joining us. And hopefully you get to take some knowledge and know that we're all in it together. Um, to answer your question, Connor, on March 27th, the City of San Diego launched a small business relief fund providing small businesses with assistance in form of a grant, forgivable loan, or low interest loan. Within 2 weeks, over 10,000 applications for business reliefs were received. Business tax revenue is expected to decrease by $430,000 in fiscal year 21 due to business closures and employee reductions. We did see an increase in cannabis tax revenue during the month of April for March activity. And that was likely caused by panic buying prior to cannabis businesses being classified as essential. May remittance for April activity have gone back to normal, and decreased tourism will likely have a slight impact in the upcoming months. Also, the coronavirus pandemic has caused tourism to pretty much disappear. Hotels are closed, which has impacted TOT revenues. Major layoffs have been seen in the leisure and hospitality industry, which are not expected to come back anytime soon. Restaurants and retail shops in the Gaslamp Quarter, Little Italy, and North Park districts are typically busy during this time of the year. Due to COVID-19, businesses in these areas are either closed or have minimal traffic. That's it for me.
All right. I'm going to turn it over to Shelley now.
Hey, good morning. We have pretty much the same as Rosa. We're in the process of grants for businesses, but it hasn't been approved yet. We've had as far as the city, we've had a lot of loss in our services, especially the recreation department. Classes have been canceled. Rentals, booking rentals have been lost. Loss of rec employees, a lot of our part-time employees. I haven't been given data on our sales tax yet. I was hoping I'd have that come in, but I haven't seen anything about that. I've seen a lot of our home-based businesses close, but luckily what I've heard as far as our brick and mortar businesses, they are all doing fine. Our TOT revenue has gone down, but not drastically. I think for the most part, what I've been hearing, my city has been pretty lucky. And I don't really have anything else to add for that.
All right. Thank you, Shelley. Natasha, are you on the line? Natasha? Okay, I guess Natasha is not signed in. So we'll go ahead and skip her answer for this one. And we'll go to our next question. So does your city or county have staff in the office? If so, what positions are working from home? Have you implemented furloughs? If so, what percentage of the workforce has been furloughed? I'm going to start with Rosa on this one. Rosa?
Connor?
Yes. All right.
Okay, thank you for unmuting me. Okay, in response to your question, the City of San Diego has not furloughed staff and instead elected to eliminate vacant positions and non-personnel costs to balance the budget. Office of the City Treasurer staff have the ability to work remotely and also coming into the office on a rotational basis so that we're not all here at the same time. The staff that is coming in is to either process checks and in-person cash deposits, such as cannabis business tax, and also processing the citywide deposits. And that seems to be working for us for the time being.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to Kelly with the City of Whittier.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yep. Thank you, Kelly.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kelly Williams with the City of Whittier. I'm the revenue manager here. Answer your question about staff. On March 23rd, City of Whittier closed to the public, and employees of the whole city who could work from home are still working from home. And in our business license office, our business license specialists work half days from City Hall and half days remotely from home. We only have one specialist in business license. Our inspector position is vacant right now. So, and we have no furloughs at this time, and no furloughs in the near future. And that's direct from our city manager.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Deborah.
Yes, hi. Am I unmuted?
Yep.
Okay, great. I'm in Contra Costa County, and we kind of got a jump on it and closed March 16th. I had to look back on the calendar. And our health officer just gave a presentation yesterday where he basically said we're about 11 days behind the state. So our reopening is going a little slower than most of the areas. As far where we've kind of determined that basically what cannot be done at home, that is what you're allowed to go into the office for. So, you know, actually cutting checks, doing the physical deposits, some of those kinds of things. And, you know, Citrix has been our lifesaver. We've been doing a lot of remoting in, which has worked. We're about the time we're finally getting the hang of it, we'll probably go back to the old ways. But and, you know, we've learned how to do the Zoom meetings and all of those fun things. Our CED office has used our business license database and has sent out emails to like some of the restaurants. They've had a database to kind of list the open ones. We are still doing construction permits. So that has been handled. The fact that we have everything online allows the contractors to do the online portal, and we can easily do those remotely and process all of those.
Great. And then I'm going to check in one more time with Natasha. If you're on, if you can unmute your mic. All right. It looks like Natasha is having some difficulty on her end getting in touch here. All right. We'll go ahead and go on to the next question then. What do you anticipate will continue to be done differently after staff have largely returned back to work? I'll start off with Kelly. Kelly, are you there? Oh, there we go.
Hi there. I just got in. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello. Okay. So it says anticipate what will be done differently. Obviously, everyone will be wearing masks. We will have social distancing. All of our counters already have plexiglass on all of our counters in City Hall. We will have stations outside of the entrances of City Hall with different colored shirts and directing people on what to go to and what line to stand in. Possible temperature checks for, we are doing temperature checks right now for employees, but once we open, we anticipate doing temperature checks for customers and possibly letting only 2 to 3 people in the building at one time, depending on where they go, either to, you know, get a building permit or pay a water bill or what have you. So that's what we anticipate we're going to be doing differently for some time in the future.
All right, Rosa.
Hi. Just like Kelly said, we are, when staff is working in the office, and this is something that's probably going to continue most likely to the end of the calendar year. We are required to wear masks while we are in the office. We are required to have our temperatures taken, and right now our front lobby is closed to the public, but we are looking into different options, which could include maybe coming in on a appointment basis, or having a certain limited number of customers at the front counter, and then disinfecting or cleaning everything once they leave. So those are just some ideas that are being thrown out there. But working remotely will likely be an option through at least at the end of the calendar year, and it may be the norm. This pandemic has forced us to reevaluate traditional working environments and make adjustments that impacted immediate operations and will likely have long-term implications. Our general fund revenues decreased by 54 million, and TOT revenue makes up the bulk of the shortage at 32.5 million. So the TOT amount only reflects the portion that would go to the general fund at the overall impact of 62.1 million. And this is largely due to the decrease in tourism activity, including the cancellation of conferences such as Comic-Con. But the revenue shortage will be offset by the COVID-19 state and federal relief funds, which are totaling 146.1 million. And that's it for me.
All right, Shelley.
Well, I don't have much more to add. Pretty much the same as Kelly and Rosa. I think we'll probably be looking at some cost-saving measures, so I'm pretty sure that we'll be continuing with Zoom meetings, at least for the rest of the year. But that's pretty much it. That's all I have.
Okay. So how has the collection, or how have the collection and licensing duties changed? And what methods are being used? I'll keep you on this one, Shelley.
We've had an increase in online applications because we're not allowing customers to come into the office unless it's for essential needs, and we don't consider that essential. So we've had a big increase in the online applications and renewals. We go through an online approval process, so they don't need to go to other departments. Our massage process has changed because they used to come to our department. Now we're having them go to the police department and work with the detective that I usually work with. So that's been different. As far as collections in itself, we're sending stuff to our collection agency, but they're kind of holding on to everything right now. We're not actually processing through with collections. So that's all I have.
Great, Deborah.
Yes, we've been trying to obviously do more electronically. We are finally issuing our emails electronically, and most people are just fine with that and happy to have a copy they can go back to when they lose theirs. We're doing our CED office. It's not open, but they are taking payments, and when they do plan to open, one of the thoughts is to put a kiosk over there so they can just do their business license online without having to go to 2 different departments and have more exposure. We've actually continued to see new applications, which, you know, in this time is a little bit on the surprising side, because obviously we have no over-the-counter business coming in currently.
Perfect. And Kelly? All right, let me check on. Oh, Kelly?
Hi there. Just like Shelley and Deborah said, the city of Whittier, right now we accept payments online, and we've seen an increase of online payments and applications as well. We also, of course, still get our mail. We have a drop box for people to drop off renewals with payments in front of our library. And then the emails have been really helpful as well. The thing we've done differently is now we accept payment by phone. We never did that before, and now we accept payment by phone for everything. So staff is constantly on the phone taking payments. One thing that has changed also is people that apply that require fingerprinting They cannot apply because we're not fingerprinting right now at the police department. That's closed. So those are some of the changes that we had.
Perfect. Yeah, and I know that especially the online licensing has really, if you are an agency that doesn't have your ability to collect online business licensing or other tax revenue, I mean, now is more than ever this time. It's important to have that feature readily available, because I know on our end we hear so many people that without online collection they would be just missing out, especially if they have to go in the office a couple days a week or things of that nature. And just another reminder to everyone too, if you do have a question, you can submit it in the chat functionality, and we will answer those questions all at the end. All right, on to the next one. How has your agency modified their penalties? And are you continuing your compliance efforts? Deborah.
Yes, we, as far as modifying our penalties, our city really wanted to not penalize businesses during this time. So you guys worked with us and we were able to change our programming or our setup so that currently anybody that is paying is not paying penalties, and we plan to continue that 90 days after shelter in place is lifted. We've had a lot of good response to that. We did an email blast to all the businesses. Some people have used it almost as a amnesty program, and we've received like back year's payments on some things with no penalties. And we businesses have definitely appreciated that and indicated their appreciation. Compliance, we have not been doing during this time frame.
Rosa.
Hi. Well, as far as the late fees, we are not currently, late fees are currently not being assessed for accounts that are being billed going back to February and renewed through June. So during that period, if the business tax certificate expired between February and June, we're not assessing any late fees. And the mayor has also issued an executive order to waive penalties and surcharge assessments for canceled accounts that are being reinstated. We had a lot of businesses that had expired certificates, and once they wanted to apply for the relief funds, for the business relief funds, they started calling us. And we also received a lot of applicants who didn't have an active an active business tax certificate as a result of applying for these funds, because that was one of the requirements. Also, as far as business tax compliance, our compliance efforts have been limited because we typically use the FTB data, the scope from the CDTFA, BID, and public referrals, but that kind of stalled for the moment. We are using the CDTFA active sellers permit data, and we are issuing non-compliant notices, but we're not assessing any penalties or surcharges. And so far, the response has been pretty good. Individuals who are doing business, they will go ahead and send the payment and their application. And if they're no longer doing business, we just ask them to cancel their seller's permit so that we can cancel that notice of non-compliance.
Great. Kelly.
Hi there. As far as penalties go, we waive penalties on a case-by-case basis right now. That's the direction we've been given. And as far as compliance, we send out delinquent notices as usual every month. We haven't changed anything, but there's no in-field inspections at all.
Yeah, I've heard from a number of agencies that, as you all mentioned, the penalties have been modified in some perspective, whether it's been modified to not allow it for the certain time, whether they've pushed back penalties to like a few months later, or at the same time, whether they're just foregoing penalties altogether for the rest of the year. Each agency is different, and as you know, your city attorney and your city council will determine that as well. On to our next question. If your agency has enforcement officers doing inspections, have they been impacted at all? Let me just tackle this one. It's sort of a piggyback question on the first one. What I've been hearing is pretty much it's been quiet on this front for compliance efforts during the shutdown time. Obviously, we want these businesses to come back, but at the same time, they do have an obligation to pay their annual business tax or quarterly or their revenue. We know that sales tax has been deferred for a little bit, and we know that some business licenses have been deferred. But now that things are starting to start back open and open up again, we will probably see more enforcement measures on a slower process, but I'm sure in the next couple months they're going to be back out full-fledged. On the other perspective, we have a lot of entrepreneurs out there, which is a great thing. So while businesses have been closed during the shutdown time, we've also had people that have been either making masks or having a new side business, whether it's doing it on an Etsy or selling their products on a local platform, or even bringing it out to the stores. So there's always a new entrepreneur out there, and make sure that they're up to date. They have their proper permits and licenses as well. I'll pass it over to Kelly to answer this one.
As I said before, my inspector position is vacant. And so if we do have any enforcement issues that need to be addressed immediately, we turn it over to code enforcement. And they're on a case-by-case basis if they go in the as well. So that's how it's been impacted.
Great. All right. How significant is the drop-off of TOT and STR revenues, and what are its impacts? Shelley.
So the last couple of months, like most cities, we've seen lower than usual revenue. Last month was probably our worst. We bottomed out at about 28% occupancy, but I was told yesterday we were back up to 40% occupancy now, and it's probably going to take till at least 2022, they believe, till we're back up to where we normally are. And that's it.
All right, Deborah.
Yes, we also have, March was down about 30%. And we what I'm seeing is our larger hotels are getting the hit harder. The smaller hotels, the occupancy is down, but not as significantly as the large. And then we went back and looked at the Great Recession, kind of 2009, 2010, just to kind of get some idea what things might look like. And we were down in 2009 about 22% overall, and then from that down again in 2010, 16% before it started coming back up. So we're kind of using that as a possible guideline to look at.
Yeah, you're definitely right with those numbers. We were predicting that we would have a larger decrease in TOT costs in March, but we were happy to see that it wasn't as low as we predicted. The April numbers, they're still coming in slowly, but we think, those are obviously going to be more significant than March, and then May, the same thing. But now as things are opening back up, hopefully the vacation market, I know the flights are already seeing a drastic increase, especially for business travel that was halted. And obviously business travel is going to be affected completely as well too, because those that used to travel for various meetings and conferences, those have all been affected, but as they've been opening up. And we're just on that cusp of the summer market too. So the STRs will probably be seeing more. I actually feel that STRs may see a quicker recovery rate than TOT on the hotel motel side of things, just because I don't know if you guys are aware, but that company Airbnb did put in new cleaning regulations. So they are going to do a higher, more restrictive cleaning measures, so that they also are going to limit the days that can be utilized through that program too. So I think that families are going to be more comfortable staying at a home where they know it's been cleaned and they can be there for a longer period of time than a hotel where it'd be a quick, like a quick turnaround. But at hotels, you're going to see a different type of measure when those come in. You're going to see keyless entries. You might even not speak to somebody at the front desk or the lobby anymore. You might check in by your phone or by computer or by a kiosk in the front. So, and this will probably change the market forever now. We won't ever go back to the way it used to be. It'll all be what the future is. Those of you that have done Airbnb before, you've checked in for the most part online. Your host will give you a lockbox a lot of times and give you a combination to get a key. So we're going to see a lot of that changing. But the good thing is we're coming out of it for at least a short time during the summer and the big height of it. Hopefully those TOTs will be having some sort of increase in the future. Okay, the next question. Have you done anything creative to cope with the collection of other revenues such as cannabis, sales tax, property tax, building permits, etc.? So Deborah.
Yes, we had been kind of searching around for a way to be more PCI compliant for like our multifamily billings, some of our, just our little miscellaneous billings that we had. And, our volume wasn't such that it would be the type of situation where you would download a whole database and somebody would host that, accept payments, and send them back to our database. So when this hit, and then actually our police department was the motivator, they needed a way to be able to accept requests for police reports and payment without coming into the police department because they wanted to remain closed. And so I reached out to HDL, and they came up with a very flexible portal payment process where people can just go online. We've got the link various places in our website, and they can indicate on there what type of payment it is. And based on the department they choose, if they choose the police department gets the email. If they choose finance, we get the email. If they choose the building department, they get the email. And they can put in their credit card information. They can put in a permit number or a police report number or a invoice number if we've invoiced them. And so this is in addition to our regular HDL business license program. This is more for our miscellaneous type payments. And then we get notified, we can post the payment in our system, and we settle up once a month. And we're finally PCI compliant.
Great. And I know I see some questions coming in on the chat, and we'll cover a couple of those PCI compliance type of items, especially with non payments that are directly through a secure payment portal or a custom gateway that somebody might use. So we'll get to that in the Q&A. That's a great point. I want to toss it over to Shelley.
So like Deborah, I kind of did the same thing, but for our fire permits, we've kind of put those through our system. So it allows the fire department to bill through there. And the customers can now go online and pay because they were tracking everything through spreadsheets and having the customers come in. And then as far as something different, as far as not necessarily being able to come up with more revenue right now, especially with what's going on, but finding and collecting new businesses so that in the future we can have more revenue. I know a great place to find out a lot of information is, if you have social media, is through Facebook. I cannot tell you how many people, if you belong to like your local groups, like I have several, 4 or 5 different Vacaville pages that I belong to. I cannot tell you the number of people who ask for recommendations. And you can find especially a lot of home-based businesses. So I do a lot of detective work on Facebook and find a lot of businesses that way. So I send the information out, and most of them will comply. Of course, not all of them, but it may not give us revenue right now because we may not necessarily charge a fee. We just want to get them in compliance. And so in the future, we'll collect more revenue from them. That's it.
That's a great point too, Shelley. I know when I was working on the city side, I would do the exact same thing. I mean, you have your local Facebook groups, which are in our area, it's called the Buzz or whatever it is. And then you have Nextdoor. And I mean, there's one that I belong to for my community. And yeah, everybody asks, oh, well, who's a great plumbing contractor? Or, you know, who can redo my pool, or a landscaper, or just something else that maybe someone's selling a small, or making stuff and selling it as a small business. So you're exactly right. It's a great way to find out. Also, I just want to mention that I was watching Fox National News one day, and I happened to see a business in the city of Vacaville, where Shelley is at, that decided it was a barber shop, that he was not going to obey the governor's orders and stay open. I didn't hear anything or follow up on that. Do you know if he got fined or license taken away at all, Shelley?
I didn't hear anything. I know our fire department went out there and we put those citations through our software. I have not seen anything come through for that. So I know he was served information, but I'm pretty sure it probably didn't go through.
Yeah, well, I know he's probably not the only one out there. For all of us, we've seen or heard. I know in Southern California, where I live, there's a local beauty salon that made the news, the local news, saying that they're going to be open. They have 8, contracted workers that work there for them, and they need to make a living. The owner needs to make a living, and the contracted workers need to support their families. So they've stayed open. And I know that there's been some home barbering going on, just like we always hear about the home massage. There's a whole new industry underground that's doing whatever you need now. So people are getting very creative through this whole thing. All right. So make sure, once again, we do see a couple questions coming in, and great. We are almost to that point. I'm going to put up a question on here, and Shelley will touch on the answer, but if anybody else has something that they would like to contribute based on what their city or their municipality is doing for utility billing, please chime in. The question is, for those participating in handling utility billing, how is your agency dealing with SB 998 and that issue and the modifications due to COVID-19? Shelley.
Okay, so first of all, I apologize. I don't work in this department, so I was given some information. So I'll talk about our current process. So right now, if the customer comes past due, we're doing extensions on their account 60 days out. If they cannot make that due date for their extension, we are also offering an alternative payment schedule. And we're taking their past due amount, averaging out because we bill every other month, and we're averaging out their next 6 bills for the next year, and average everything out, and they are making a monthly payment on that. We're not charging late fees right now. We're not shutting anybody off right now. So the concern is kind of what to do when all of this is lifted. Because we don't know how long this is going to go on for. We already have several customers that haven't paid anything because they just don't feel, why should I pay anything if you're not going to shut me off? So that's going to be an issue to deal with when this all goes back to normal. And we don't know, even then, there may be new stipulations, new laws, new policies, who knows what's going to happen when that comes out. So that may change absolutely everything that we're thinking about doing. But we thought about maybe recreating the alternate payment schedule again and going out for 2 years to let them make payments back. We may just take their past due amount, because we're not going to shut anybody off for the past due because they'll be so far behind that maybe we'll move it over to accounts receivable and just create an account there. And then if they don't pay, since we won't turn them off, we'll just send them to collections. That's about as far as we've gotten so far, because we're not sure exactly how long this is going to go or what we'll be able to even do.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you. We have a lot of questions coming in, so let me go ahead and jump to that. If anybody wants to chime in on the utility billing issue, please feel free to message in the chat box, and we will touch on that. All right, so let me pull up some of our questions on here. All right. Okay. So everybody that is a participant, please feel free to chime in. Just make sure that you say your name first before you answer, and that way you'll be able to tell the listeners on who you are and what agency and how you guys are handling it. All right, first question. Are there any challenges or liability issues when taking payment information over the phone? So this would be more, I guess, towards Kelly. She mentioned that Whittier is doing payments over the phone. And I think there's another one on there for that. What are some of the challenges of phone payments? And has this move impacted the amount of online payments received?
Okay, to answer your question, this is Kelly again. The challenges with taking online or over the phone payments is that it's credit card data. You can't write it down because you won't be PCI compliant. So staff has to, on the phone, and punch in numbers on the POS machine without writing them down. And that's a challenge because we have, 4 lines in the office, 2 machines, and so we have to make calls back to people. We're on the phone constantly all day taking payments. And so it's something that we didn't anticipate, but in the future, we might go towards an online payment process instead of a POS machine. And because of PCI compliance, it's a big deal that you just can't have credit card data in your office, written down or kept.
You're exactly right. Yeah, we had a question on here on, could you briefly explain what PCI compliance is? I'll tackle that real quick.
Okay.
It's pretty much like Kelly mentioned, not storing any information of any payment, sort of whether it's credit card, whether it's an e-check, and not storing the information but accepting the payment. Hopefully most of your payment processors, whether it's a credit card machine at the front counter or your online software system that's accepting payments, whether it's for business license, whether it's for permits, whatever it is, they're usually PCI compliant or hopefully PCI compliance. It started off from a measure with the US Congress. It started on that end and worked its way up. And now the local governments and state governments have to be PCI compliant. So just to roughly summarize it, it's like Kelly mentioned, it's not storing the data and not having the cities or counties or whatever agency they are, not having that liability of keeping that data. All right, another question for everyone. What are cities doing when it comes to finding or responding to customer complaints on unregistered businesses?
Connor?
Yes.
Hi, this is Rosa with the City of San Diego, and I'll answer this question. We are receiving some calls, very limited, and as to businesses that are out there operating without a valid business tax certificate. So what we are doing is we just basically we research a little further just to ensure that it's not just somebody that is mad at you and they're just calling. So we do a little bit of research, and then if we do verify that it's a valid business, we go ahead and issue them a notice of violation. But again, for the time being, we do not assess any late fees or surcharges.
For that, Rosa, do you plan on having late fees once we get out of this?
The plan, I would think so. It's not something that we have discussed at this time, but looking forward, it seems like probably we'll add the late fees, maybe not for the previous years, but for the current year, if they were operating, then we will go ahead and add the late fees.
Perfect. Yeah, there are some cities that, because of the COVID and new businesses that have started up that did not get a permit during this time, we've heard on our end from various clients that cities have said we're just going to waive it all together. But some of them said, well, we'll give them a grace period. Some of them said, we'll not waive the penalties for 3 months when they were operating, but once we get out of it, they're going to have to pay. So yeah, there's a wide variety of issues for that.
Well, we have, sorry to interrupt, but we have businesses that are applying online, and if they are late, we are assessing the late fees, because when you apply online, based on the start date, it automatically adds the late fee, and you have to pay that when you're applying online.
For your code enforcement officers, have they been focused on going after businesses, or are they putting their expertise to a different use right now?
Right now, I've had a couple of code enforcement referrals, and it's mostly because they're being cited for various reasons, such as illegal wastewater and stuff, and that's the way that I'm getting those businesses, but not necessarily because they're operating without a certificate.
Anybody else want to comment on that question? How are you responding to customer complaints on unregistered businesses?
This is Kelly, City of Whittier. Right now what we're doing is when we get a complaint about an unregistered business is we simply send them a general letter to become compliant.
For your normal process, do you have a series of letters, or do you just do the one warning letter and then you start charging?
Well, go ahead, Gina.
It's just the warning letter. Normally, if we do send out a letter to them, the owner actually does comply. So we haven't really had any issues with that.
Yeah. Thanks.
Great. Anyone else want to comment? Okay.
This is Shelley.
Shelley, go ahead.
We pretty much do the same thing. It depends on how much information I get from the customer, because sometimes they're kind of vague. I get a lot of them that say they don't want to be involved, but they want to complain.
Yep.
So it's pretty much the same as everybody else. We send the information. We used to just automatically create an account for somebody if I could at least prove that they were in business, and then we'd send them to collections if they didn't pay. We don't usually charge back fees or several years past or penalties or anything like that. We are more focusing on just compliance and future revenue. But if they don't give me a lot of information, then again, I turn to whatever I can find, Googling, Facebook, whatever I can find to see if they're really in business.
Perfect. Did you have something, Deborah?
I did take one phone call over the COVID, and it was from a beauty salon person that was very upset that not only did some of her fellow, they shared, and they all rented from the same beauty salon, did not have licenses, but now those same people were working from home and seeing clients. So that kind of put her over the edge, and she was happy to call and let me know. So when they reopen, we will find out who all is in there and who does not have licenses.
Yep, that's a good point. It's funny because it happens often with the cannabis businesses, or even a massage, where they will tell on each other, like you mentioned, because, oh, so-and-so's doing this illegal, so-and-so's doing that illegal. And it's a great way for us because, like you said, you just do a follow-up and confirm. And if they are, then, the right ramifications will be put in. And if not, then, if there's no proof, then they get away this time. But at least they're going to be on your radar for the future.
Right.
All right, on to the next question. When are cities going to open to the public? So in this case, when are your cities? So we'll have everybody chime in. And if they are open, you can say that. If they're planning on opening, let us know. And then if they're already open, how did that go? And this is from Lisa. It looks like she also said that hers is going to plan to open on June 8th. So let's start with Rosa, if you're on. When is
Yes.
San Diego starting to open, and how do you plan on doing that?
Um, we, I don't have an exact, we don't have an exact date as far as I know. So far we are continuing business as usual. We have part of the staff, like I said, on a rotating basis that come into the office. So we are we're helping customers over the phone, mail. Our front counter is closed for the time being. And we're probably thinking, I'm going to estimate that maybe towards we're going to be like this until the end of June. Once we do open, we definitely going to have some procedures in place. We are already doing the masks and the temperature. I can see maybe putting up partitions or glass partitions in the front counter. But for now, unfortunately, I don't have an exact date.
So to follow up on that one, Rosa, I know that last year we had the city of San Diego come do a presentation on cannabis and how they're enforcing it and how they're collecting their revenue. And they mentioned that a lot of times, somebody will come in to a special parking spot right near City Hall, pull up with their duffel bag full of cash, and the city would then go in and hand count it and collect it. How has that been impacted since?
That again is business as usual. We're still taking those appointments, and on the days that we have those appointments, we do have a security guard that escorts them from the parking structure to our office. But other than that, we're still counting the money. We do have two staff members in the appointment room. Everybody's wearing the masks, and also the depositor or the cannabis business owner, they come and they're required to wear the masks. Our staff is wearing masks, and we also have gloves. And then at that time, they make the appointment for the following month. So you cannot come in here without an appointment.
Perfect. All right, Kelly, I'll hand it over to you. Talk about Whittier and what their plan is to open up.
Okay, well, Whittier is preparing, and as I said before, we have all the plexiglass up. We have marks on the floors to where the lines are going to be and how many people can be in one space at once. The last email from the city manager said, tentatively June 1st, but I don't see that happening. We haven't gotten any direction, and it's Thursday, so I don't think they would just spring that on us that we're opening June 1st. So as of right now, it's unknown when we're going to reopen to the public, but we are definitely getting prepared for the reopen with the temperature checks with all the employees. We have hand sanitizer stations where the elevators are, where the bathrooms are. They're all mounted on all the walls. We're going to put not makeshift, but we're going to have, like I said, stations outside of City Hall. We have front and back steps with different color-coded and big signs that say if you want to go to community development, building and planning, if you want to pay a water bill, if you want to go to public works, and so those things are being done right now. But as far as reopening, I just don't know yet.
Well, it's a lot of precautions, but all good.
Oh yeah.
I'll pass it over to Deborah.
Yes, City of Concord, being in Contra Costa County, will be 11 days behind everybody else, whenever that is. So we will see. We have done the plexiglass. Those just went in this week, so we're looking at the fishbowl. Our campus, City of Concord's campus, is pretty wide open. It's not like all in one building. So we have various entrances for the different departments. Our particular lobby is pretty small, so I think we would only be letting like one person in at a time. And with the kiosk over in community development, we're hoping that will keep the contractors over there, and that would hopefully reduce our lobby traffic also. But otherwise, people would be waiting outside until we can we're actually figuring out how our electronic locks can be operated by our business license department, so we can lock and unlock the door and let people in.
And
This is Kelly again, City Whittier. One thing that I did hear that they were going to do is have walkie-talkies. We have 3 floors to our building, so people outside will see how many people are in building and planning. They can radio down to let people in while people go out, and so forth.
well, walkie-talkies. We are in a new time, that's for sure. And Shelley, I know you guys were coming back to work. Is the city open yet?
Some of us are back. We're still teleworking. My coworker's on vacation, so that's why I'm in the office right now. But we're opening June 1st. We have the plexiglass up. The cashiers wearing masks. They can wear gloves if they want to wear gloves. We have disinfectant wipes, hand sanitizer. There's hand sanitizer stations. We've already set up our social distancing stickers and allow so many people in the lobby. And that's pretty much it as far as City Hall that we've gotten through so far. But our shopping and our restaurants already opened last Friday. And I believe this week, I don't know if they're open already, but whenever, the hair salons are supposed to open up. So.
And you guys are right next to Sacramento area, so the governor can come on by and check you guys out if you're not following protocol correctly.
Yeah, I'm sure.
All right, we have a couple questions from, looks like, this would be from Miss Moran, Amy Moran. It says that currently the city, on her side, only collects credit cards through a third-party system online, which is very common. Has anyone converted to a touchless credit card PIN pad? Also, following that up, has anyone with more than one cashier window set up a cash and a check window? So I guess the question is 2 separate windows, and then possibly a credit card window. Let me go to Kelly first, and then we'll go around and see if anybody else wants to chime in.
Okay, as far as the windows go, we have a cashier window and we have a business license window, and they're right next to each other. So it's going to be one person at a time in our lobby because it's so small. So we're going to have people wait outside until we can handle whoever, I guess it's going to be first come, first serve basis. And as far as the credit card machines go, no to all of those questions. We have not looked into any of that.
Does anyone else want to comment?
This is Rosa with the City of San Diego. We have about, in our lobby, we have 4 cashiers, and they all can take water payments, citywide deposits, and then the business and rental tax, and some cannabis tax deposit payments if they're under a certain dollar amount. But so far, I think that maybe having the option of doing the keyless credit card payment, kind of like when you pay with your phone, I think that that's probably a good option, and maybe it's something that we can explore further, or depending on the cost. But for now, we will probably have about maybe 4 people in the lobby at a time, and then have the rest wait outside, kind of like what the stores are doing now, or some stores. But you know, that's a really good idea as far as the keyless credit card payments.
Well, due to the sake of time, I'm going to push on to the next question and have some different panelists respond. So we have a question on from the city of Santa Maria. How is your agency handling SB 205 at the renewal and new application levels? Deborah, you want to touch on this?
Yeah, thank you. We've been pretty much leaving it up to the applicant to let us know if they are subject to the 205. And so far we haven't had any that are subject to the 205.
Are you guys handling it online for the online applications as well?
Yes, yes. And then we have the online links to all the websites that, you know, the water department and everybody's websites.
Perfect. And Shelley?
Pretty much the same as Deborah. I mean, as the renewals come through or the applications come through, as far as the renewals, it's kind of a required field, so they have to check yes or no. And if they check yes, then obviously I'm looking for the SIC code. We're not entering anything. We're making the customer enter the information. Unless it's a paper application, then we're physically entering what they put, but we want proof from them. If they mark the box no, and they should be, then that's on them, but that's really all we're doing right now.
All right, question from the city of Marietta. How long are agencies implementing a deferral on your business license fees and penalties? And are these just for renewals or new licenses? Whoever wants to answer, go for it.
This is Deborah from City of Concord, and we, our time frame is 90 days after shelter in place is listed. And the way it's set up right now, there are no penalties being assessed by our system. So I'm not sure of all the technical background on it, but I'm assuming if a new person said I was really in business over the last couple of months and they pay during this time, there would not be penalties.
This is Rosa with the City of San Diego, and also our late fees were deferred 90 days, I believe, from the due date until further notice. So for now, all of the business tax certificates, the renewals, they are being pushed to due date to July 1st.
And this is Shelley from Vacaville. We didn't change our due date. They're all still due April 30th, but we changed the penalty date, which started May 1st. So they now have until July 31st to pay without penalties. After that, all penalties will start being assessed.
And then Kelly, do you want to chime in?
We have no changes on our penalty structure as of today.
All right.
This is Deborah again, and what I didn't say that you guys are reminding me, we are on a rolling basis, so we have business licenses that come due every month. So yeah, so we just extended it for anybody that pays during this time.
Yeah, ours is case by case right now.
Yep, and that's a great point too. I mean, we have a wide variety of our renewal periods. Some of them, for those that expire December 31st, those were probably already okay by the time that this outbreak happened, because most of them have already paid by that point. And all you would need to worry about would be the ones that haven't renewed by March or so. So for those people, they're probably good. I know that Shelley, is yours February? The end of February?
April 30th.
Or for April, yeah. So you're right in the middle of it all. So that's a big one.
Yeah, we were just starting.
Yep. So that's going to hit hard, and you probably won't find any answers out for a little while.
Actually, most of ours have renewed.
Oh, they have?
I don't have very many left that haven't renewed.
Perfect. Yeah, and I know I've spoken to a lot of cities that are on that 1 month, a year to the date from the month that they registered in, and yeah, you guys are hitting it right on the point. Everyone's different based on a case by case basis. Some of them are deferring a couple months, some of them are deferring 90 days after the declaration is finished, where things can start reopening again. So everyone's, I would say your council and your city attorney are the two that are going to be affected the most with that decision. All right, quick question. All of the first two people that want to answer it can do it. For the cities that have small lobbies and can only have one person in at a time, what type of arrangements are you making for waiting outside? Protection arrangements like the sun and the rain?
Well, I don't know yet. This is Kelly, City Whittier. I believe they're putting canopies up with tables, chairs, to protect you from the sun and the rain, there's going to be 3 different stations on the front and the back entrances to City Hall.
Maybe.
That's what we know so far. And that again, that's just by hearing what everybody's just talking about what we should be doing. So.
This is Deborah, and we do have an overhang over our building. There's already some picnic tables out there. So I don't believe we have any special plans for making accommodations.
Perfect. All right. I'm going to go on the next question real quick. This question is for Kelly. Says that Kelly mentioned penalties are being assessed on a case-by-case basis. How is this being decided? And is it presented to the department itself, council, city attorney, and who makes the decision for that?
Well, first, when someone calls and it wants a relief on a penalty, the question comes to me. Well, we assess if it's a 10%, 20%, 30%, or what have you. And then the question would go to our Director of Administrative Services. And I just have to be frank that we really haven't had anybody call and ask for relief on penalties. It's been amazing.
Oh.
But that's the process. Because it's case by case, it has to go, I'm the revenue manager, and then it would go to the Administrative Services Director. And if we had more, it would probably go to the city manager to make a decision on how to handle, penalties if we had a lot of cases, but we really don't.
Makes sense. Yep. All right, we have an answer for our last question regarding utility billing from Christy, the utility billing supervisor at the city of Vacaville. To add on to Shelley's answer, she mentioned that her council is considering trying to implement a deferment of water and sewer bills for small businesses. So they're just in the early stages, and she does have a question that anybody can respond to on the chat here. If any cities are deferring utility bills for businesses. So we've spoken about the business license deferment and compliance being a little slowed at the moment, but if anybody has deferred utility bills for businesses or penalties, please chime in and let us know what city you're from and if your city has done that. Just wanted to recap real quick. I really appreciate everyone being on the phone with us today. And Natasha did try to reach out a number of times to get into us, or having some technical difficulty. So we really wish that technology was better at this time for her to log in. But because we know she could have been a great contribution to it, and we'll make sure to put her on our next panel, and hopefully we can get some better wavelengths to get her connected on here. So thank you all again for attending. I hope your questions have all been answered. It's been especially helpful to see how agencies across the state have been coping with COVID-19. I'd like to thank our panelists, once again, our all-female panelist group to say, and let you know that if you're interested in contacting any of them, you can always reach out to our local email, CMRTA Division 4 @gmail.com, and we'll get you in touch with them. And if you want to ask one-on-one questions or get their email, we can give that and provide that to you. A reminder that we have another webinar coming up next week, Wednesday actually, on how to best utilize online business licensing and revenue capabilities. Please contact the Gmail address if you have not signed up yet. The link should be on the emails if you've gotten one of these to sign up as well. And on behalf of CMRTA, I'd like to thank you all for attending and see you all next week. Thank you much.
Connor?
Jill?
Connor?
Thank you.
Are you there?
Yes, I am.
Do you want to just remind everyone that this presentation or this webinar it has been recorded, so it will be posted either through the listserv or I'm not sure. I'm not very familiar with this technology, but I know that it's something that we're going to post for those of you that are trying to get your CRO credits. this is something that we're going to be listing.
Perfect, Rosa. Thank you much. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.